You're listening to MSP Waves. This is an interactive broadcast station hosted by the Peace, Abundance, and Liberty Network. Today is sort of a funky day. There has been a soft fork that was implemented. So rather than try to put words into what the soft fork is, I think I'm just going to read the statement. The statement can be found here. And I'm going to go read this. So, Steem Consensus Witness Update. Code updated. This statement has been co-authored by the Steem community, which includes witnesses, developers, and stakeholders. Consensus witnesses are bound by our task to maintain the integrity of the Steem blockchain. Fellow Steemians, with the recent purchase of Steemit Inc. by the Tron Foundation, the Steem blockchain obtained a new major stakeholder. As another major player in the decentralized space, the Tron Foundation's interest in the ecosystem has the potential to bring marketing power, resources, and other potential benefits to both companies. It is thrilling to think of what will be discovered and shared with this introduction between our two vibrant blockchain communities. While these opportunities are exciting, in these early stages, the most important task for witnesses is to ensure the security of the Steem blockchain. To this end, we have updated to a temporary protective protocol to maintain the status quo currently established in regards to Steemit Inc.'s stake and its intended usage. This update is reversible and is simply to be used to ensure that the security and decentralization of the Steem blockchain remains intact. Communication on the company acquisition is scattered and conflicting at this time, and we believe it is important to be proactive rather than risk a possible security threat to the Steem blockchain. Since there are many new developments in the ecosystem, this is an ideal time to take a look at one of our long-term impediments to decentralization with the involvement of the entire community, old and new. With this announcement, we're providing a detailed look at the soft fork update, why it was implemented, and how you can get involved as the voices of the Steem community. What a soft fork is and what Softfork 0.22.2 does. A soft fork is a fully reversible code update, which is an excellent way for Steem consensus witnesses to deploy changes for the community to review and give feedback on, which may include changing their witness votes if they do not agree. What is especially important when considering a soft fork is to remember it does not require any exchange to upvote their node, and all 0.22 versions running now will continue to operate. A soft fork does not mean that anyone running a backup witness will suddenly disable or necessarily miss blocks. In general, Softfork 0.22.2 and transactions on the Steem blockchain will continue smoothly across the board for everyone with absolutely no change to a majority of the current Steem code. With the soft fork running, if any of the below clearly defined set of transactions happen, it is unlikely that they will not be processed by the consensus witnesses. As there is more community feedback and the Tron Foundation and Steemit Inc. have a better chance to detail their roadmap and their plan for the future, this temporary soft fork can be adjusted to fit whichever direction the future holds for everyone. Here are the technical details of Softfork 0.22.2. Relevant accounts. This will impact Mr. Delegation, Steem, Steemit, Steemit2, Steemit admin. Excluded operations. Account _ witness _ proxy _ operation. Account _ witness _ vote _ operation. Update _ proposal _ votes _ operation. Vote _ operation. Withdraw _ vesting _ operation. Set _ withdraw _ vesting _ route _ operation. Transfer _ operation. Limit orders and transfers to vesting or to saving. The GitHub repos for comparison and consideration. Files changed. There's a link. There are 3 links there. So the Softfork 0.22.2 has been written by community members, tested on a testnet in one of the most robust environments to date, and has been vetted by those who know the Steem blockchain best. This is a temporary update. The deployment of this soft fork has been carefully thought through in terms of impact to the overall ecosystem. Why was this soft fork deployed? With the recent developments for Steem Inc. with the Tron Foundation acquisition, there have been a lot of uncertainties around the company and its continued use of the assets it controls, as well as plans for the future. This makes it an excellent time to return to a long-standing situation that has had lasting repercussions for the Steem blockchain, Steem Inc. Ninja Mind stake. In an ecosystem where we are moving towards true adoption for decentralized technologies, this large amount of stake, mined at the beginning of the blockchain with an unfair advantage, has always been problematic in terms of creating a potential for heavy centralization. The Steem Inc. Ninja Mind stake is a special case, as up to this point it has been clearly declared on many occasions as earmarked solely for the development of the Steem ecosystem and to be non-voting in governance issues. There has always been a good faith trust by the community that this would remain the case into the future. This social contract was defined by Ned in the 2017 roadmap and has been an important background factor for the Steem ecosystem for many years. With the changes in the company ownership, this is an excellent time to transition the good faith agreement into a truly trustless one, utilizing blockchain code and taking further steps to help Steem Inc. support even better decentralization and the development, onboarding, and expansion of the Steem blockchain. For now, there has not been a clear declaration from Steem Inc. on the use of this Ninja Mind stake. Softfork 0.22.2 has been deployed to allow for the entire community to discuss how best to achieve the original goals that this Ninja Mind stake exists to support. This reversible softfork will not process certain transactions related only to Steem Inc. Ninja Mind stake as listed above, and is simply the due diligence required by consensus witnesses in regards to centralization that could have an impact on the integrity of the Steem blockchain. It is very likely that the softfork code will not impact any transactions at all, and that there will be further announcements from witnesses, community members, Steem Inc., and the Tron Foundation in the near future. Let's talk about the future of Steem. We have a vibrant platform with many front ends, which gives us all the ability to voice our concerns and excitement while discussing topics like this one in a public manner. We encourage you all to do so, no matter if you are a witness, a content creator, a business owner, or new community member. If you feel these actions are not representative of your vision for Steem, be sure to express that and vote for witnesses accordingly. As consensus witnesses, we're elected to represent you and to uphold the security and integrity of the Steem blockchain. We are here to support everyone in our ecosystem. Please get involved by voicing your thoughts and using your votes. All rewards from this post will be sent to @null. Steem on, the Steem consensus witnesses. Now there's a ton of stuff that I missed while reading that. So I'm not sure. So if you'd like to come on air, and I hope that other top 20s will join me on air, you can either signal to one of the mods, just come on air, go into MSP Wave's waiting room, and come talk about sort of what led you to go take this stance, or why you're doing this, or what you think is important about this. So hopefully you can you'll share some of that with us all. So, let me go grab Tim Cliff. I'm going to take a second. Let's pause for a moment and let folks gather for just a minute here. So, if you're a top 20 witness and you would like to speak, then I think everybody that is a top 20 witness should feel free to come onto live on air. In the meantime, if you don't have access to just join live on air, please join the MSP Waves waiting room, which is just below the chat channel, and somebody can move you in, or just say something in the general chat here. All right. Well, not seeing a lot of the witnesses looking to go speak, but it looks like Tim is here. Tim, is there something that you would like to start this conversation, or?
Not really. I'm here. If I hear anything specific, I will chime in, or if anyone has any questions, I can answer them. But others in the room are probably going to be better positioned to speak on the fork and all the changes.
Yeah, so I guess what should I start with? I mean, I do think it's important that everybody like really hone in on the fact that this thing is one meant to be temporary, and two is completely reversible. So at least at this time, the actually I can see this right here. Let's go look at the number of witnesses that are running this. So if you go to either steamd.com/witnesses, or if you use steemian.info, you can go get a sense of who's running this. So there's a version of this where there are some people that might be running this and it's tagged 22.1 still, but you can be positive if somebody is running it because the version is 22.2. So at the moment, I see some guy, Roland, Yabapu Matt, the Marky Mark, Umbrella, Luke Stokes, Good Karma, the Real Wolf, the Crypto Drive, OCD Witness, Osbitbank, Agroed, and Follow BTC News are the ones that are in the top 20 that are running it. Tim Cliff, Tim Cliff is not running it, and currently I see Block Trades, Gandalf the Grey, Cervantes, Steam Peak, NEX, and Actifit still running 22.1. Though that is not a guarantee that they are not running 22.2. Let's see. Let me read through some of the let me read through some of the comments.
Some people in chat are mentioning Draco's was missed. He's on 20.2.
Yeah, Dracos is on 20.2, but he's not currently a
Sorry,
consensus
22.2.
So he's on. Yeah, you can see that there are witnesses that are not in the top 20 that are there. Although
I think he is in the top 20 right now.
I'm sure it's moving around. I see him as 21 right this second.
Good call. Yeah, he like probably 30 seconds ago was. Yeah, you're right. Is jumping around.
Yeah, I'm not. We'll see. It's going to keep moving around. Smooth made a post about what his decision was, so you guys can go see what Smooth had to say. Dracos, if you'd like to go, it seems like you're in here to speak, so you're welcome to share any thoughts.
Yeah, just a clarification about Steemian.info. It updates every 15 minutes. So maybe that's why the numbers aren't as accurate as they should be. But if you look at the steamd.com/witnesses, this is the most updated list. So yes, you can see people running 22.1. We decided to go with a stealthy update first, so not to spark any alarm from anybody or anything. And once the top 20, the most of them, the super majority was approved the patch, then we made the second update, which is just to update the version to 22.2. So that's to avoid any confusion about the versions.
One of the thoughts that I keep having is that Ned sold stake to Justin that he had other obligations on, and that stake has been stated since the Bitcoin Talk forums mentioning the very creation of Steem, that it would be used for blockchain development, and that it would be used for to keep the chain running and to onboard new users. So, and that's been stated for over 4 years. And the challenge is, to my understanding, Ned sold that stake and pocketed that money. And that to me is insanely concerning. So I actually worry for Justin that that if he's paid that Steem, that he's actually been the victim of fraud, that essentially I don't know if he actually had full knowledge or um, full understanding of all the promises that came with that. So, um, so that to me is a pretty critical point. So I wouldn't, at least for me, I don't think that this is necessarily completely hostile. In fact, this may end up protecting Justin from a hefty loss. We'll see. We'll see how this whole thing um, plays out.
This is a good point, and there's two options. Either Ned really screwed Justin by not telling him. I don't know what kind of homework Justin did before this acquisition. Was he aware of the ninja mine or not? If he was, maybe Ned sold it to a lesser price. I don't know, maybe half of the price or of what it's worth. So maybe Justin didn't pay what it's worth right now. But this is my own speculation. I don't know how much he sold it for, what he's aware of. These are all nebulous questions that we have no answers to. So for now, we can only speculate at what happened. But one thing for sure is that with such a huge stake, with suddenly handed over to a stranger, quote unquote, we don't know what Justin's intentions are. At least with Steemit, we were in constant contact with them as witnesses, as stakeholders. So there was a close working relationship with them, and they didn't use it to abuse the witnessing system or the DPoS system. But with Justin, it's still a big unknown, and I think that's what prompted us to act in this manner and to implement this soft fork.
And anybody, let's see, I'm still inviting any other top 20 witness to come on and sort of share their thoughts. Pretty soon, I'd be welcoming of just anybody that wants to come on air. Feel like this show is meant to be anybody, like literally the creation of the Minnow Mayor Town Hall was a place for people to go air their thoughts, and this I'm sure is going to be somewhat of a polarizing place. So if if you do come on air, I just hope that the people come here recognize that the actions taken by all people here, I think, are meant to be done in the best interest of Steem, and that if Tim Cliff is voting no, I'm not going to look at Tim and say, "Wow, that's terrible. Why would you do that? You bad man." I am going to trust that Tim has the best interest of Steem in mind and is using the information and sort of heart process that he has to go make the best decisions for Steem. And I trust all of the witnesses are doing that. So if you have strong opinions one way or the other, they're certainly going to be welcome, and you are going to be welcome to go share your thoughts and sort of talk about it. But I would just ask that as we do this, I know that people will feel strongly one way or the other, but please recognize that the folks that are doing this and the folks that are not supporting this are both very much thinking, how do we protect Steem the best? How do we protect this community? And I just want to set that groundwork before people are able to just have this conversation. All right, so with that, I guess what I want to do is, if anybody would like to speak on air, feel free to just put the number 1 into chat, and I'm happy to go move you in, and we can go hear your thoughts, and you can go share whatever you'd like. Again, take a breath before you do, and take a breath before you just come through. But I'd welcome anybody. So there's Matt. Let me go add Matt Stalkers in here. So Matt, you're on air. Can you speak?
Yo.
I can hear you. You're a little light.
Yeah. Okay, I'll try and get close to the mic. I'm not really going to comment on my opinion on what's happened. I support the Steam witnesses and what they've done. Like you said earlier, I trust that they have the best intentions of the security of the blockchain at heart. It is an incredibly intense, risky situation. And I think one of the things that we should do as a community now is focus on how we help Tron understand that there is a positive outcome and a win-win for both sides here. I think it's important that we try to communicate to Tron in some way. For example, based on last week, they used stake from other blockchain from their own stake to support block producers on their blockchain. Probably not what they shouldn't have done. It's given them a bit of a bad rep in the community. If Tron support this action by the Steem witnesses, they can go back to the wider crypto community and announce that they further support securing decentralization on the Steem blockchain and can demonstrate it. So that's an angle that I think we should try to help Tron spin this, and it creates a win-win scenario for both, because Justin gets to demonstrate that he supports decentralization, we get to secure the chain. It's kind of a win-win, and I think that's where we should be looking. That's all really I've got to say on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Wilhelman, you are currently muted. Would you care to unmute and speak?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I read the post and listened to you earlier, and I think it's a very difficult decision that you made there, because I think there is no truly correct way to handle this. I mean, the one way, you just took someone's ability to transfer or do things with something they bought legally. On the other hand, of course, it's a threat to the Steem blockchain, so it will be very interesting to see Tron and especially Justin's reaction to this, and I honestly hope that the soft fork can be removed in a future update, and that there will be a way that Tron or Justin and Steem work together without us being afraid that he do actual damage to the blockchain.
And I do actually think that's a concern, and I can't speak for anybody else, but the messaging in the DLive was quite promising. Of, we're not going to kill the Steem blockchain. We're going to implement communities. We're going to get you on exchanges and do all this stuff for now. And then simultaneously, the Tron marketing machine kept churning out material that the plan was to go do a token swap that had a lot of hallmarks of looking like the point would be to basically have the Steem blockchain cease to function and move everything over to Tron. And it's that I think, again, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but
I absolutely think that you have, as the top 20 witnesses, it's your job. You are elected to protect the chain, especially against hostile attacks, which they would have the potential to do so. But I also immediately thought about how could their mighty marketing machine use that against Steem, because right now they can go out and see, look at that blockchain, they forked us out, and they will put out so many posts about this on the internet. Do you think that will eventually harm the price and the reputation of Steem even further?
I definitely think that's a potential. I don't know if I'm supposed to answer that. I think that's a potential that was weighed, and it, at least for me, when I said yes, I will support the soft fork, it seemed like there were enough statements saying we are going to shut down the chain that it was imperative enough to do this.
Fully understandable.
And keep in mind, it's a reversible thing. The goal is let's find a mutual common understanding and de-escalate. And it's hard to go do that when the very first thing said is, I purchased your blockchain and we're going to swap all your tokens out. I mean, it's been a funky time, and I think this is just meant to make sure things slow down, and it may escalate, but I think the intention is let's make sure this is going to be
I think that the marketing they put out was very strange and far away from the reality. I mean, Steem is not proprietary. They cannot just swap the token if they want to, and all that kind of stuff. But over the last couple of days, I also spoke with many people on the Tron community about this, and from their experience, I mean, they probably know Justin longer. They all said he will probably just want to secure his investment and probably grow it. So I really hope that you, or we as the Steem blockchain, and Justin can come to a conclusion where anyone just benefits and no one is logged out from the blockchain. So it will be very interesting to see where this all goes.
I mean, I'm probably one of the most bullish about this entire scenario, and I think not the rest of the community doesn't seem to be quite as bullish. You know, each time that I've made a pro Tron statement, it looks like my witness ranking has gone down. And
Yeah. I saw your tweets where you wrote, I think, 20 tweets to introduce Steem and Splinterlands to Justin, I think.
well, not just to Justin. I mean, I'm trying to go do that to the whole Tron community. But I guess my point is, you know, I'm very hopeful that, you know, if both Steemit and Steem can figure out a path forward, that the single biggest thing that Steemit has been missing for the entire time I've been here is any capability to do marketing. And I do believe Justin Sun is able to go generate hype and press basically with anything that he says or does. So there's a potential for great upside, but there's also severe distrust. And you know, there's a recent story where Justin was using basically the pre-mined fork or the pre-mined stake on Tron to go vote for super representatives, which are the equivalent of witnesses. And I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I read that and thought, if he would do that there on his home chain, I don't know what would keep him from doing that here.
Absolutely. I have to fully agree on that. And from what I've read, the reason why he did that was because he wanted to push changes through. And some of the top super representatives didn't update their node or code in time, so he voted other nodes in. So,
No, the language also was a bit concerning, because in the tweet about those super representatives, he was saying that they're gonna be punished because they're not updating. Now, yeah. So the language is very important here.
Did you ever use the Lino blockchain or had a look into that?
No.
On the Lino blockchain, there's something similar. That means if the majority of the nodes, let's say, run on version 2, and there are a few nodes that run on version 1, they won't any longer produce blocks. And I think that's what they mean with punishment. If the majority already agreed on a version and you don't update, then you won't be able to generate any more blocks. I think at least that's my understanding of it. And yeah, the language in those tweets wasn't the best. That's true.
But let it be known to the community that this decision wasn't taken lightly. In fact, the talk started just after the announcement on the 14th of February when they announced the acquisition.
Yeah.
And since that day, there's been a lot of talks among the top 20 and the big stakeholders on what to do and how to react. Should you just stand by and let it flow and hope for the best, or take a concrete action, a preventive measure that protects our blockchain? Because having a super massive account like that in the hands of, as I said earlier, of a stranger doesn't inspire trust or confidence yet. We haven't yet met with the son, we haven't talked to him, so we don't know what they're really up to. And plus all these indications about the SRs, about other blockchains getting censored and blocked on Tron. There was an article about a blockchain on it's a streaming video blockchain or something that they used to be on Ethereum, and they migrated to Tron. And what Tron did was they censored them and they suppressed them completely, and they wrecked their business.
It's Pop
So
Network. It's a video streaming network that was moved across to Tron. Yeah, Pop Network.
So there's a big amount of indications that don't inspire any confidence in Justin, and for me at least, that was a big motivation to support this software.
I think now
In
he
the
is.
beginning, I was against it. I didn't support anything that had to do with freezing anybody's account, no matter how much we hated anyone on the blockchain. It wasn't right for us to do such a thing, but under the circumstances, for me, I think it was justified to protect our blockchain.
And after all, now he has a reason to get in touch, at least with some of the witnesses, to set up a call or something like this. I mean, if he wants his stake back, pretty much I think that's the way to go forward. Start a conversation.
Frederica, you just hopped in. What would you like to share?
Yes, I understand that this is going to be an interesting next few days. I just wanted to say first that throughout my almost 3 years on Steem, I have never once seen such active participation from witnesses, nor such overwhelming agreement on how to move forward. Sure, there were some questions that were rough, most notably about the exact number of limitations that would be included. But in terms of going ahead with some form of action to ensure that witness voting and the most basic components of the promise on how the stake would be used was something that almost the entire top 40-30 list of witnesses were in very strong agreement on. Now, the only other thing I wanted to just jump in on is that I don't think everyone saw it as urgently the way that Draco saw it, in terms of Tron displaying that they were in some ways a threat. At least, even though I've found a lot of the communications from them over the past week to be quite poor, I still wouldn't consider it such a threat for that to be a justification in and of itself. That said, I think it is crucial that with an acquisition where we don't know at all the conditions at which this stake was transferred, that we ensure that there has been a sufficient understanding on Justin Sun's and Tron's end about what the intentions for that stake were towards the community, and that it is absolutely ensured that it will stay that way. I think there were very few people who would consider that this stake, just because Justin Sun bought it, in a way, make it so that he can do whatever he wants with it. By that logic, Ned could have sold the company earlier and then bought it back, and now suddenly he would have been able to vote witnesses as he likes. So no, the Steem It Inc. stake is just as the way I see it. Justin Sun purchased Steem It Inc. Steem It Inc. hold these assets, which has been earmarked a specific purpose towards the community. So Justin Sun did not buy those tokens, and is not the owner of those tokens in any normal way. He acquired a company that had certain agreements already made. So I think for me, ensuring that that stays the same was far more important than a perceived potential threat of Tron, which I think was mostly hypothetical. But again, I do think it's very important to stress that this is a temporary limitation, and that there is full agreement that we want to have conversations with the others and to create a win-win situation.
All right, I want to pause for a second. There's 116 comments on the post, so not all witnesses are speaking here, but many have left comments on there. So I just want to go through and read comments from witnesses and sort of get them on the record with this. So we see I have Riverhead, Witness Riverhead supports this update. NetUoso, I fully support and stand by the decision made collectively by the Steem witnesses. It has been a pleasure working together with you all to get this protective soft fork executed, and I believe this is clearly in the best interest for all Steemians. Looking forward to the next steps. Bernie Sanders, who runs a witness by Next Gen Crypto, it says, I fully support this update and will be issuing my own statement shortly. Witness Next Gen Crypto is updated and running this version. BlockTrade states, I fully support this update. Spitbank states, I fully support this update and I'm already running it on all my servers. I'm proud we were able to organize this and come to consensus independently of Steem historic days. Good Karma writes, I support this. P-Funk writes, while I was hesitant at first to this idea, the signals that Tron has been sending about the future of Steem and Steemit say to me that the blockchain is under threat from their newly acquired stake, and I must support this for the sake of Steem. My witness server is running the updated software from the Steem devs repository. I wish for the best outcome both for Steem and its stakeholders, including Justin Sun and the Tron Foundation. I look forward to the cooperation between us and hope for the best for Tron as well as the Steem blockchain. Roland P. writes, I support and run this update on my witness, Roland P. It has been an intense 10 days, but great worker with a big group of long-term Steem stakeholders consisting of investors, community members, witnesses. I will issue my own views shortly on my account, but the gist is this is a preventative temporary measure, soft fork nonetheless. The Steemit Inc. stake is a special fund, just like the @steem.dao is, and should have been coded with special rule set long ago. Mixed signals from the new owner of Steemit stake raise the risks in an irreversible use of the stake. Again, this is temporary and done for the stake and for the sake of the Steem chain, your chain, our chain. Steem Peak writes, we are looking forward to seeing the Steem blockchain become an even more decentralized place to develop our interface. We believe these moves can produce a step in the right direction. The early mined stake of Steemit Inc. has not been used for 4 years to impact the governance of the chain, and it was kept that way as trust-based agreement with the community that luckily worked until now. We always felt at risk, and the risk never came to fruition. Now we feel much more secure with it being trustless in the future. Lion Danny. Steem witness at Lion Danny supports and runs Softfork 0.22.2. Marky Mark. I fully support this update. The Real Wolf. I fully support this update. Here is my statement. And it links to a post. Steem Press. We support this conditioned on it being temporary limitation made until it is made clear by the new ownership of Steemit Inc. how the stake will be used and where sufficient guarantees have been made to ensure that it will be used as promised. Follow BTC News. We support this update. All nodes updated. OSO RPC at Steemed, the Minnow Support Project node has been updated. Dracos. I fully support this update and will write my statement soon. Luke Stokes. I'm currently supporting this temporary soft fork and have been working with an amazing group of Steem witnesses, community members, and stakeholders to come to this point. You can read more about my perspective here. What is property? Is it defined by consensus? I welcome questions about my perspective and look forward to useful conversation with the Tron Foundation. Umbrella. As Steem witness, I've implemented the related soft fork and support the statement in this post. Guilty parties. This is an excellent representation of witnesses coming together to ensure the sanctity of the Steem blockchain. We are in full support from all aspects running on this version. Actifit. Actifit supports this update, and our witness has been accordingly updated to run the soft fork. Tim Cliff. My position on the soft fork. I do support the overall mission that the top witnesses and community stakeholders are trying to achieve. Finding a way for Steem to progress in a way where the security of our governance and blockchain is not under the constant threat of a single stakeholder. I, however, am not running the changes on my witness node. My post, along with my explanation, can be found here. Yamamat. I support and am running this update. Cervantes, we fully support this update. Agrode, in support and running it. I believe there's more. Acidio, been a long weekend and discussion before that. At OCD Witness is fully supporting this update, hoping for the best outcome for both chains and communities. At David, it was good to finally see some coordination to address blockchain security risks. I, at's Witness, am in full support of the actions taken and have an official statement posted. I invite anyone to read it and leave me comments and I will answer them. Rondon writes, Justin bought this stake, and if you want to counter it, buy more Steem, or at least be consistent and include all NinjaMind accounts. To be clear, Justin's actions of FUD have made me greatly concerned about the future of Steem, but we all knew that about the huge Steem Inc. stake and potential for abuse. This is a stake-based platform, and in doing this, it will set a dangerous precedent in the future of the platform.
I think it is fair to shoot in there that the biggest issue here is that no real measure weren't taken many, many years ago, which then would not have led to this being such a, dramatic action now.
Block Brothers writes, any hard or soft folk that proposes to fork out any account or limit the actions of an account on the Steem blockchain, we will impose now and in the future, and anyone on the Steem blockchain should be able to do with their stake whatever they want. We would have liked to have seen more communication and talks between witnesses, Steem Inc., and the Tron Foundation. Let's see. There's conversation, but I'm really just trying to find the statements. Justine writes, I fully support this important update to ensure the security of the Steem blockchain. C Squared is in the process of updating. NEX, I am currently running this soft fork as a temporary measure. I would also like to note that this is an instance of network availability of utility and that this measure does not affect ownership of property. And that's the majority of the comments that have been there. I've unfortunately not been able to go read the comments as people have been writing them. I'm sorry about that. So you might have to go ask questions again. If there's anybody in the audience, witness or not, that would like to go speak, you are fully welcome to. Rondon, I can't tell if you're in here as a station manager or if you have something that you'd like to say because you've bounced in and out. Would you like to speak?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that there needs to be some things. I think most people here are in agreement of this, and I am absolutely not. I do understand that this is I understand the intentions behind this. I do think that people here, or the people here that are supporting this fork, have the best intentions of Steem, or at least the best intentions of their stake at heart. With that said, though, this really does. Here's the thing. What this all rests on, I think the contingent thing that this rests on is the promise that Steem Inc. made. The promise that their account, or the Steem Inc. stake, will not be used for voting. It won't be used for voting witnesses. It won't be used on the reward pool. And Ned has said this in talks and stuff. I've yet to see it on the blockchain in writing anywhere. And also, there was code put into the blockchain, decline voting rights, which could have just settled this completely. And this really should have been handled years ago. But here's the thing: it's like Mr. Delegation has now voting. Well, the delegated stakeout has been voting on the chain for what now? 2 years? At least a year, but I know it's been like 2 years. This is something that could have been handled a long time ago. We've had empty promises from Stink over and over again. We haven't held them to a contract. The only thing here is code is law, right? I keep hearing that code is law. Well, I guess we're about to find out exactly how lawful the code is. Now, I don't know if anybody's heard me before. They know how much I've abhorred the ninja mining, how undecentralized it really is. It made this platform, and this was before Justin Sun was in the picture. And and everybody was just like, no, these people got the best interest at heart, and this is for development of the platform, and maybe it's not the greatest thing, but it's just what we do. But here's the thing: everybody has known about this. There's nobody here that's blindsided that, oh my God, Steem and Inc. has a huge stake. Holy crap! Like, this isn't something new. I think that this is only going to serve as a hostile, kind of greeting to Justin, rather than being able to come to any kind of agreement now. I don't agree. I think that essentially saying you have too much stake, or saying that that stake has promises which have already been broken over and over again and nobody's enforced them. Essentially, what gets a contract if it isn't enforced? Well, now somebody else had bought this stake. It's kind of a third party removed, and we've got. Now we're in this mess, and like you said, Justin's son has now used the Genesis mining, or what, I can't remember what it is on Tron, but he used the pre-mined stake for Tron to go vote for a new hard fork. Yeah, okay, so Real Wolf saying if someone was hostile, it was Justin? I mean, I don't know. He just bought a bunch of stake. He bought a majority, a huge chunk of Steem Inc. or Steem tokens. What does it account to? Like 30% of the chain? 40%? Something like that?
I think it's closer to 20%, and somewhere around 30 to 40% of the total staked and potential voting.
That has to be said in combination with some of the press that Tron's released over the last few days regarding to redundant tokens and swapping tokens out on exchanges. It shows either a clear misunderstanding or a potential threat.
But instead of, here's the thing: it's everybody here, or all the people voting for this soft fork, are assuming the worst, and have taken hostile action against him. Now, I can't speak for Justin. I don't know exactly what his intentions are, and there has been a lot of FUD. Like, he's talking about a token swap, and he's talking about, essentially it sounded like he was talking about, taking Steem and turning it into Tron.
Yeah, exactly. It sounded like a takeover and totally absorb Steem into something that me as a Steemian don't approve. I mean, I came to Steem and I like Steem. I disagreed with a lot of what Ned was doing, with a lot of what Steem Inc. was doing. And now all of a sudden Ned drops this bomb in our face out of the blue. And how are we supposed to react to this? Do we keep trusting Ned with his empty promises and his weird moves, and he never listened to us? He never cared about Steem, really, in my opinion. So his move was really bad. And the other thing that really pissed me off is, not only did it take us off guard, there was no effort to gather everybody on the same table, witnesses, stakeholders, with Ned, with Justin, and talk and discuss what's going to happen. None of that happened. So we were like thrown in a desert to our own devices, and we had to make a decision whether we sit idle and wait for whatever Justin decides to do, or we take a preemptive measure to protect our chain. And I know I went for the latter.
I'd just like to add to that.
1 second, Matt. Well, hold on 1 second, please. Just again, anybody that wants to actually get on voice and come share their thoughts, this is not a Steem witness forum. This is the Minnow Mayor Town Hall. And actually, let me go switch the masks to the Steem at Minnow. Sorry that's been broadcast the wrong way. But this is the Minnow Mayor Town Hall. So this is not a witness forum. Anybody that would like to go speak is welcome. Again, the one rule that I ask you to consider as you are sharing is that I really think every single person here is trying to act on the best interest of the chain, and that might mean doing different things. But I hope that the folks that share differences of opinion can share that those that are coming from different perspectives are trying to do what they think is best. So if you'd like to come on air, please just go into MSP Wave's waiting room or put a 1 into chat, and you can be dragged in. So Matt, sorry to interrupt you. Feel free to go on from there.
Thank you. I think one of the important things to remember in this moment is we can spend a lot of time and energy now discussing what has happened, but we have to spend as much, if not more, thinking about what the next steps are from here. There's been a lot of talk, in my understanding, behind the scenes as to what happens next as well, and I think there's a decent plan there in place as to what's going to happen. But I think in terms of the community, if you're a community member and you want to work out how we get the best solution from this, we're in this situation. We've taken action. What's the next step? It's got to be trying to reach out to the Tron community in some way to try to help them understand what's happened in order to avoid any misunderstandings, because this is quite a kind of harsh action that we've taken. They may take this, it's obvious that there's going to be a lot of people in Tron that might take this very negatively quite quickly. And it's our kind of responsibility as Steemians now to go reach out to those people, try and reach out to the Tron team and help them understand this from our point of view and make it very clear to them that the Steem witnesses saw this as a very hostile move from Tron. Even if Tron didn't necessarily intend it as hostile, there are a lot of things there that showed that it was. And so they took this action. Please do try to understand us. And then I want to reiterate again that we should try to convince Tron that this is their opportunity to support an action that secures a decentralization of a blockchain in which they hold a significant stake. And it is their opportunity to show to the world that they support decentralization. It would be crazy of them to go back on that and then try to spin this as a negative thing that Steem's done, because it's like you've just made an investment and now you're against an action that the community's taken in order that they feel is best to decentralize the state, the chain, to ensure the decentralization of the chain. And so, yeah, please, guys, go out, reach out to Tron in a friendly, polite way and help them understand this from Steem's point of view and help them understand that this could be spun as a win for them as well as a win for us in terms of supporting a decentralized network within this industry.
And I think the key word here is decentralized. If we have a powerful account able to strike and take control of this blockchain, then that defeats the whole purpose of decentralization.
That has been the case since the beginning of Steem. Actually, even more so. It's way less to a degree right now than it was at the beginning. They've sold off so much programmatically. They've sold off so much programmatically that now they've effectively made their stake decentralized. We're at a point now. Here's the thing. I want to read this. This is what Inertia posted elsewhere, but I probably should. I don't know if you. Anyway, let's say the Tron Foundation moves forward with the token swap idea. I don't know how that's usually done, but let's just say they set up an account called Swapatron, and if you send your Steem there along with the TRX address in the memo, you get a new token. They also demand that the witnesses will all shut down once their token swap is complete, and then Steem is delisted. So that scenario right there doesn't sound much of a threat to the chain, except for the delisting. Also, this deal would have at least a 13-week schedule once it's announced in order to give everyone an opportunity to power down and do the swap. To keep the chain running, users just ignore the token swap, witnesses just keep the chain running, and seek relisting, which is the hard part. So let's say that in order for the Tron Foundation to functionally shut down the chain, they decide to both ignore the wishes of the users who want to ignore the swap and install their own witnesses that would agree to shut down the chain and set a new date as a concession. It seems like the wishes of the users who refuse to power down is the mandate from the witnesses for what to do. Keep the chain running regardless of what Tron Foundation does. On the other hand, if a huge amount of users want to take the deal and power down so they can, that's a clear message they don't want Steem to stay the way it is. It seems like if the witnesses do something drastic before they should, the Tron Foundation could lead right into the latter situation, regardless of what the Tron Foundation's real intent turns out to be.
I would like to just clarify one thing there. I think you mentioned that by doing the regular selling. They basically decentralized their stake. I think it's good for everyone to keep in mind that some guy 123, who is currently the number one witness, has 50 million Steem power backing his witness. And Steem Inc. or the accounts have, that we know of, 73 million Steem. So effectively, that cat is still more than sufficient to make a complete takeover if it were to be done. No, I'm not saying that such a threat exists, but one has to bear that in mind.
Roland, I saw you pop into here. Are you able to speak? Is there something that you would like to share?
Yes. Can you hear me? Good morning.
Great.
Okay. Good morning here from Bali. It's been an exciting and interesting 10 days to work with many folks, but this has already been said. Sorry for popping in so late. I overslept and had to update to Signal Softfork 0.22.2 as I fully support it. I support it because other notifications coming in. I support it because it's a temporarily measurement, and we set this measurement because the imminent risk which was created by the sale of Steemit Inc. It is temporary, as in that we are now seeking talks with the Tron. But you have to understand that if we had not done this, which should have been done already a long time ago, if we would not have done this, an irreversible action could have taken place without, which would only have been irreversible through a hard fork. Imminent? Eminent? Okay, thank you, Inertia. So this is why this is a preventive measurement, and it's a temporarily preventive measurement, which enough top witnesses found super priority, especially seen in the light of all the publications and announcements made by the Tron Foundation. So I saw a question about what would Tron need to do, and this is, I think, a very valid question, because now to some it might feel like, hey Tron, we took hostage of your stake, and now here are the demands, like this is our ransom or something. But this is not the case, but it is a valid question. What should Tron do in order for in order to release to soften the soft forks in such a way? And if you ask me, I think there are several opinions or several options what should be done. And I think the designated stake of the Steemit Inc., which has been purchased by Tron, could, for example, be donated into the Steem DAO, Steem Proposal System user, either through a third-party entity or directly by converting it into SBD and then moving it to the Steem DAO, or it could even be burned, or other forms which the community also has a say in it, because these stake funds have always been designated for the growth of the platform. For example, if I would take the BitShares Steem Proposal System, BitShares is also a graphene blockchain. It was the blockchain prior to Steem, which was run by Dan and not by Ned, but by Dan, which has the BitShares workers proposals, where the core development team of BitShares is actually paid through this worker proposal. So imagine having an independent Steem development team being paid through the Steem proposal system, which is partly funded by the Steemit Incorporated stake, where it was, according to the roadmap 2017 and other social announcements, always meant to be used for. Here you would have the community having the say about what to do and where to move next with the Steem chain, instead of having a single entity just decide, let's do a token swap. Imagine that token swap is a Steem proposal which can be voted upon, instead of having one entity just saying we're going to do that. That's just an example. Okay, so lastly, what could then happen if the demands, I call it demands, but that's me being bad in English. If the demands have been formalized, we can then update the soft fork code to stricten the soft fork, to stricten the code that, for example, the Steemit Inc. user can only transfer the amount to this user. So this is to make sure that it will not be abused. So that's my input for now. Thank you.
So I guess it's a wonderful question posed by Shadows Bub. I guess it would be, for those that are currently running the code, what is it that you need in order to basically unsoft fork? What is it that you would need to hear before you would go change the version of Steem that you're running? And then if you're not voting for it, I guess I would ask the question, what would make it so that you would want to run it? Like what would happen there? So I guess I'll pose that for now. What would make you run it, or what would make you cease running it?
For me to cease running it is pretty straightforward. Just if they can give us guarantees, whether written or legally binding, if we have guarantees that they're not going to use their stake to vote for witnesses or vote for posts and whatnot, then for me that would be sufficient to unfork. So
Others want to chime in with what they would need to unfork, or what they would need in order for them to feel like it would be appropriate to fork?
My biggest concern would be them enacting the decline voting, and then also knowing that they're not going to cannibalize Steem. I still believe that Justin Sun leaked the information. Even Ellie said that he leaked it, and they're playing damage control, and they fully intend to cannibalize Steem and to enact witnesses and to token swap and do all those things to better Tron, and Steem is more of a vehicle to do that. And I want to see that that's not going to happen, and that's my biggest concern. This is Marky, by the way.
Can I just plug a little parentheses about the swaps? I'm not very enthusiastic about them for a few reasons. Whether the swaps are optional, like users can swap if they want to, or don't swap if they don't want to, or they could be forced in some way or another by takeover or whatever. But either way, a swap, what that means is that we get rid of our Steem to get TRX. And by doing that, we devalue our Steem, and we increase demand for TRX, which increases their value. So in the end, it's not beneficial for us to have any swapping, if I'm not mistaken in my reasoning.
I guess for me, I see this sort of ending one of two ways. We either agree that we can work together and set out on a path that, I've been saying for the last little bit that in crypto, first we silo and then we bridge. And I mean that by first we develop our own chains and then we bridge them. And I see lots and lots of opportunities for bridging, and how Steem and social media can go fit with Tron and TRX and BitTorrent. There's lots of synergies there. And I see another option where, we fork the chain. And by that I mean hard fork, in that we have, basically everything that's on the chain now, except that the Steemit stake is nullified, and we continue on. And I'm sure that if that happens, my guess is that there's more than one of those chains that happen. And I hope that in the next week or two we can go have a conversation with Justin, hear what his plans are, have him state cleanly and clearly what the plan is, and if he decides he is going to go through with a token swap, then we can have time to coordinate and put together a fork and let people voluntarily decide what they would like to do. And if he decides to move forward and work with Steemians, then that would be wonderful, and then we can remove the soft fork that way. I think either way that this thing will eventually end. To me, it's mostly about let's get a plan in place so that nothing's unilateral, and that we can sort of collectively decide and have some time to go make and design whatever plan has to happen.
I see one comment there, which is that all this says is if you got 10 million, don't put it into Steem. I just want to we made it very crystal clear in the communications there that this has absolutely nothing to do with just blocking any large purchase of Steem, but that it is very specific to the conditions at which this stake held by Steem Inc. was allowed, and information that many people have been investing on since then. The assumption that it would not be sold off for personal gain, it would be used to grow and further decentralize Steem. And this does not change just because someone else comes and buys Steem Inc.
Absolutely, Federico. This is Starkers. I'd also like to add to that we should be watching very closely what Tron do now. There's very clear signs in, for example, if we see a token swap happening, and that token swap consists of send us your Steem in exchange for a Tron token, this is incredibly hostile. But if that token swap consists of we're going to airdrop all Steem users a certain amount of this new token that we're creating called SteemTron or whatever, that's a bit more of a voluntarist cooperative situation that I could probably work with. And it's these signs we have to look out for proof as to whether we've done the right thing here fully and we can actually then de-escalate. But I think for now, that's the decision the community's made, and we just have to be on the lookout to see what they're going to do next, and if the actions they take still have a hint of hostility to them. For example, saying that they now have incorporated Steem's proprietary blockchain software, that's so uninformed, and it's uneducated at best, and it's hostile at worst, and we need to see changes to these rhetorics from Tron in order to start to de-escalate and change the soft fork over.
So let me ask you guys this: what if Justin doesn't bend to the? I mean, because right now it seems like there's some pretty definite demands being put on Justin, which is to uphold the contract that Ned flippantly made in some weird obscure interview many years ago. And if he doesn't uphold that, I mean, what's the next step? Is it going to be a full fork, or is it going to be what's the next thing? Where do we go from here?
I think this just buys time. At least I'm not going to speak for other witnesses, but I just think that it buys time, and that nothing is going to happen without witnesses being informed, that we know what Justin's plan is, and then we have time to adjust. That it's not meant to remove his choice. It's meant to allow for the entire rest of the community to have time to implement whatever they'd like to do. And I think that's important. So that, if he, I mean, we've basically been trying to reach out to him since the 14th, and I would argue it's been limited success with mixed messaging the entire time. So, hopefully he can clarify his intentions, and then we can plan around it, and people can make whatever voluntary decisions they'd like. This is just ensuring that everybody on the chain has enough time to make whatever preparations and decisions, and coding forks will take more than a day, which is less time than it takes, or him just voting in 30 new witnesses or changing rules or, you know, those kind of decisions can be made instantly that impact everybody. And so this to me is really about, hey, dude, what's your plan? Let us know. And this entire community will then have time to react. And also I see some conversations about the Ninja Mine. You know, there are people that are quite upset about the entire Ninja Mine stake. And one key difference that I would point to, at least in my own decision making, is that you know, there are miners that were not Steemit, but they weren't in the Bitcoin talk forums and posting into the GitHub release notes or posting into the 2017 roadmap or giving interviews or sharing in blog posts the intention for their stake. And so I made decisions in a vacuum or not considering what the rest of the miners were doing. They weren't making promises or sharing what they were going to do. Whereas Steemit, for the entire time that I've been here, and then in all of the research that I've done, trying to go find out, you know, what is the history of this blockchain? Where did that Ninja Mine come from? How did this all get to the distribution of stake that it's at? The entire time and everything that I've read has always pointed to this is a community stake, and essentially they are custodians of a community property that will be used to go help and develop the chain. And you know, for Ned to then sell that stake and use it for personal profit, I think is very much against the ethos and the stated intention over a 4-year time period of what that was for. So I have no quarrel with the other people. Like if you had the knowledge and you were able to mine, that was part of the Ninja Mine, and I do think that there's some different obligations that come with that. But none of that pales in comparison to 4 years of saying we're going to go use this to develop the community. And by community, I mean I'm just going to pocket this personally. And so I have a post prepared, and I chose not to do it because I wanted to go put out the Minnow support one in the, you know, here's the town hall forum. But in that post, I think very strongly and clearly, it's like if a sitting president were to go sell Social Security and pocket that money, like that would be the equivalent on a national scale. Like that, it's a community property of which you are the custodian, not otherwise.
I don't think anybody answered the question about what's the next move if he doesn't decide to decline voting rights.
Well, then I guess
Then it's just a status quo, right?
Move, right?
Dracos, then Roland. Why don't you go first?
If he really doesn't want to bend or sit with us and talk to us and try to reach an understanding, then I guess that justifies our move. But if he's willing, then I think we can go forward together and in a positive manner, as long as he understands our community and our needs as a community to protect our chain. I don't see a problem with working with him. But if he wants to act like a dictator and have it his way, then we're gonna have a big problem. So the way I see it, if he really doesn't want to bend, well, I guess ultimately we'll have to hard fork. You'll have classic Steem, and whatever Steemtron vision that he has, he can do whatever he wants with his chain.
So I see it a bit different, Rondon. I think this move is a defensive move and not so much an offensive move where he now needs to, where the Tron Foundation now needs to act upon anything. if the Trump Foundation doesn't do anything, we will just continue as we have been doing for the past 4 years, because this soft fork merely blocks certain operations from being executed which have not been executed in the past, such as witness voting. This move was just done to prevent, if somebody decides to do that from the Trump Foundation, that it just cannot be done. So this is merely the status quo is being guaranteed, as so to say.
I must say I'm very optimistic about the potential to have further conversations with them. My analysis of the whole acquisition is that first and foremost what they wanted was to bring new applications and websites and apps to the Tron ecosystem, and also to attract more users to the Tron ecosystem. And I think that their intentions were less about the investment in Steem per se, but more in terms of growing Tron. Whether or not that depended on a full migration, or full transfer of tokens or cannibalization of Steem, that's to me pure speculation. I know some people believe that very strongly, I don't necessarily. But I think what they want is to grow their ecosystem. And so from my perspective, what is important here is that they understand that all of that will be easier to them if the Steem community can trust them fully in knowing that they themselves cannot perform witness changes or takeovers. So I believe very strongly that this can strengthen the opportunity to have such a collaboration with them. I don't think it is meant, or at least from my perspective, it is not intended at all to be us securing chips in some bargain or in some negotiations here.
I have a question, if you don't mind. Is there a potential oversight in the fork that they can still remove delegations and then just delegate to a new created account and vote with that? Like Mr. Delegation removes all delegation. Yes?
Delegations don't count towards witness votes.
No, but I mean, you disabled their vote operation, so they can't vote on content. So what if Mr. Delegation removes all active delegations and delegates to Steemit 123 and then starts voting on content with that, for example?
That would be technically possible. There were some people that had that concern, although the majority of people that were a part of these conversations deemed that the need for Steemit to be able to create new accounts and delegate to new accounts is something that they need in order to not be dramatically stifled or limited by this operation, which at the end of the day is well intended.
This right here actually kind of illustrates a point. If this is about enforcing the contracts that Steemit Inc. has made with the community and the stakeholders, then why aren't they enforcing the other contract that the Steemit Inc. stake will never be used for voting content, which is what Mr. Delegation has been doing and breaking that contract for a long time now, which makes me think that the contract really was just an empty promise rather than an actual contract, because it was never enforced. This was never discussed. I mean, a few people made a bit of a rabble about it, but other people were like, "Well, I'm getting $15 votes from DLive, so I'm good." Like this is part of, like, why not remove the Mr. Delegation voting too while we're at it, because that's part of the contract. That's the whole, I mean, that seems to be the crux of this argument is Steemit Inc. made a contract with us, so we're trying to make sure that we enforce it. Well, you're only enforcing part of it, the part that you don't like.
There is a strong sentiment.
No, Mr. Delegation is part of the block.
And there's a strong sentiment amongst users that should be the case. I mean, I'm on the delegation committee, and I would say it would be better to not use the delegation at all. I guess one of my main reasons for wanting to be on that delegation committee was I wanted it to stop voting things that were not helping this chain. So if it was going to be voting, then it should at least be done thoughtfully. But I would stick with it would be better overall to just not be voted in the slightest.
And in any case, it's certainly a gray zone, and people have stifled opinions on it, different opinions on it. I can certainly see both sides where one might say that it is within the contract because it fits the purpose of supporting growth of the ecosystem. And I mean, if you want to put it that way, then all the small 15 SP delegations are also being used for voting. So then they are abusing it by delegating to new accounts too, right? So it's certainly a gray zone. I don't think that one is as easy to argue against as, let's say, voting on witnesses.
Well, I would say the whole point of that was to not remove from the reward pool. Those 15 SP accounts don't remove from the reward pool unless you have like I don't know how many, like 2,000 of them all voting on the same post. Like it's I mean they don't really amount to anything as far as votes. Now, what Mr. Delegation does, which actually though I would like what they did with Steam cleaners. I mean, like or hate Steam cleaners, either way. Their whole shtick from the very beginning was they don't upvote content; they only downvote. So that has never been used to take rewards away. Actually, it's been used to give rewards. So as far as like that was still in line with the so-called contract of not using their stake to take rewards from the reward pool. Now, on the other hand, like these big delegations, these million SP, 2 million SP delegations, have been used for that. So I think that's a pretty clear case. There might be some gray zones, but that's a pretty clear case of violating the quote-unquote contract.
But remember that they are not themselves getting those SP from the rewards pool. Those projects get those SP from the rewards pool. And it is not Steam Inc. employees that through using that stake decides how content is rated on Steam. So I think it isn't that clear because it's not them who are getting the rewards. But I'm absolutely open to this there being arguments on both sides.
That was never the intention, though. Just real quick, that was never the intention. The intention was their Steam Inc. stake will never be used to get rewards. And it doesn't matter who it goes to. There was no, there was never any specification of, okay, we're never going to use it to take rewards for us. And that's why at the beginning of Steam Cleaners, that they were told they can never upvote, only downvote, because of that very rule.
I'd like to try to address both Woman's and Rondon's questions here. The first thing is you potentially have a point, Rondon, and the great thing is that by taking this action, the community now has put the decision as to what we do with that in our hands. It's no longer in Tron's hands, although of course Tron needs to have a massive input into what's done with that in terms of delegations. But it's definitely back in our hands. So now the debate can start, right? The debate can start. We can have a reasonable discussion about what the community thinks should be done with it, how it should be controlled. The Steam delegation, for example, committee have a very clear process that's set up, and that is ready to roll out. We've already made our recommendations, and that was never followed up, obviously because the stake was being sold. But there's definitely a grey area, like Frederica said, and we should have the debate about what these things are done. Now we have time to have a proper debate and come to reasonable conclusions. Regards to Woman's point as to Tron now undelegating and then delegating out to other projects and then voting on the chain, that in my opinion is very unlikely to happen because Tron care all about their reputation. Their whole market cap is based on the hype that they make, the marketing that they can do, and their reputation within that area. And if they are seen to be buying a chain and then all of a sudden swapping out delegations and distributing massive stake to whoever they want on the chain, it represents a destruction of the Steam ecosystem, and that would be incredibly bad press for them, I think. And therefore, I think the chances of them doing that is very, very unlikely in order for them again to save face.
So I see a really insightful comment by Neil McSpadden. A change I would have supported that mitigated the controlling threat of large stake is the one coin equals one witness vote idea. I actually think that this can serve as a wonderful point in time for us to go discuss governance on chain. I'm not sure that I've fully wrapped my head around one coin, one vote. But at the very least, I think that the number of votes an account should be less than the number of consensus witnesses. Which could mean we increase the number of consensus witnesses or we decrease the number of votes. And maybe we go down to one vote and you get like one vote and you can put 3% on 33 people, or you could put 1% on 100 people, or I do think that could be a time. But the challenge with that is that if we tried to do anything other than a soft fork that just buys some time, it would be a hard fork. And then the hard fork gets into an exchange question. And then you really could have harm being done to folks because all the exchanges could be shut down and they could be forced to choose which version are we running, and having to pick Steem or Tron, and that just makes for that could cause damage. So I would very much welcome a governance discussion to happen after this, or as part of this, but it couldn't happen right away because a hard fork would actually expose people to harm. I mean, my argument would be that this is actually harming nobody. Justin has enough value and stake that, whatever money is here, if it's held up for, a week or 2 week or some short period of time, that's not going to be enough to cause him financial distress or ruin his business. It is an assumption, but that's one that I'm working on. So I'm assuming that it's doing no harm. But if we tried the hard fork route and actually make substantial changes, and those that are not reversible, that could cause harm. And none of us, I don't want to say none, but basically hard forks seemed like they were stripped off the table as soon as this discussion started.
A hard fork would have been necessary in this case if they already started to power down, and that's why that was another element in our decision to act quickly, is to anticipate such a move if it were to happen. And if we were to go into a hard fork, that would have been much longer to code and to implement. So that's why we have this soft fork, and it's working as intended.
Oh, yeah. Can I remind you guys to say your name beforehand so people in the audience know who is talking? Because it does actually help.
Dracos has spoken.
I see 2 new people have hopped in, so I want to give Jack Miller and the Hive, in that order, a chance to go speak. And then I saw Matt Stalkers light up. So we're going to go Jack Miller, then the Hive, then Matt Stalkers.
Hey, good day, everybody. Jack Miller. I'm supporting this soft fork fully because it was coded in ages ago in agreement with parties that were involved, and likewise it was coded in so as to protect the existential security of our actual blockchain, and that is the role of witnesses. So that is the main role of a witness, to ensure that our blockchain is secure at all times. Likewise, our blockchain, Steem blockchain, has progressed so far compared to, I'll say, most other blockchains out on the market, to the point where we have our own DAO SPS, the Steem proposal system, in place. So we have a decentralized means of ensuring that the Steem blockchain gets worked on, and that we can further, as far as the technology goes. That move, that hard fork, where the DAO was inverted in, actually in some ways made Steem Incorporated redundant, because that stake that they had the keys to was, or is, for those purposes at the DAO. So there is a solution out there already in place, approved by Steem Incorporated as well, because the hard fork was done back then and they participated in the coding process. So I don't see any issues as far as our governance goes, as far as the decisions that have been made by our governance, including us backup witnesses who have supported this action. that's just that. Our only jurisdiction on the blockchain is our code. As far as the company Steem Incorporated goes, a U company registered in whatever state they're registered in, and the person that purchased that company, they need to take those issues up within the jurisdiction that that company falls under. As far as the Steem tokens that are on our blockchain, they fall under our jurisdiction. That is our code. I hope that what I've just said has, for some of, I've seen comments there which are conflicting, and I think that they may not comprehend or don't incorporate what I've just stated. Just wanted to get that out there and make my stand clear as far as protecting the well-being of all Steemians and our Steem blockchain, because we have a chance to change the world with Steem. We can make it the dream that we all thought it would be. That's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jack. The Hive.
Yeah, I was more wanting to speak on the governance of Steem, the way it is now. And like you mentioned with the voting system for a witness, I think that should be restricted down to a maximum of 5. With that 5 people that can be nominated by each account, there would be a thing of a declining vote. You would have to prioritize your witness into a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your first witness would get 100% vote of stake, second witness 75, 50, 60, and so on down to an agreeable number. I think that might put a better representation of the communities on Steem to the be delivered to the steaminc.com.
Thanks, Hive. Matt Stalkers.
Yeah, this is Starkers. Yeah, based on what Hive just said, the current witness voting system is definitely set up assuming that the stake is well distributed, and it's not. So there's a change needs to be made. There was a question in the chat earlier regards to what if Tron went and bought another 12 or 50 million Steem on the open market. Well, of course, the answer to that is we'll all get rich because they'll push the price up if they do on the open market. If they do it over the counter with some deal with someone where they get the Steem quietly, and then it becomes apparent that they're voting in Tron's favour, it will have confirmed the actions of the witness that the witnesses have just taken. I very much doubt Tron have got any interest in terms of their reputation to go buy more Steem on the open market now, because if they do that and they're found out to be doing that, it will be a clear hostile attempt at the Steem blockchain, and again, it will damage their reputation publicly. So I think there's very little chance of that happening as well. Maybe proven wrong, but I don't think that's in anyone's interest, including Tron.
So I want to pause here for a second. Ron, do we stop right at 8? Does that kill the feed?
The feed does get killed, but I can push it over.
Yeah, will you plan on pushing it over? I'm betting that there's more than 20 minutes of discussion left.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. What I'd like to do is again open it up. Everybody here is welcome to speak. This is not a Steem witness forum. This is the Minnow Mayor Town Hall. Anybody is welcome that has something to share. I especially would invite witnesses to come up and share current consensus, backup, whatever. But this is not a witness forum. Everybody's welcome. If you put a 1 in chat or just move into the MSP Waves waiting room, you are welcome to come share what you'd like. So, I don't have another question prepped, but if there are guys that have something to say, we can do this a little Quaker meeting style.
Just a comment. I'm a little bit surprised by some of the audience reactions to our decision, because when the acquisition happened, it seemed to me that everybody was on board saying that they were not optimistic about Justin. They're not optimistic about Tron. So it just, I don't know. It just surprised me tonight. But that's the community. Everybody has a voice. They can make up their own minds, and if they approve of what we did, then just keep voting for us. If they don't, that's fine. They can vote for somebody else who doesn't support the soft fork.
I see Lemony Cricket, and I see Agabriel has joined us. So Lemony Cricket, why don't you go next, and then Agabriel, and then the third in line will be Snook.
Yeah, you hear me all right?
Yep. I'm not sure that you've been on a show, so just please introduce yourself real quick.
Yeah, I'm Lemonade Cricket right now. I operate the OCD Witness, but right now I'm just speaking as myself. Acid and elements over on that. So, I'm hearing, well, not really hearing, but seeing a lot of discussion about how this action we've taken has like compromised the integrity of the blockchain. The arguments surrounding that just sound to me like, reiterations of this kind of like code is law concept, which I agree with myself. It's like a big thing for me that code is law and stuff, but, I feel like that kind of integrity-based argument doesn't actually hold water, because, it's true that code is law, but part of that law provides a way that we can change that law, and that's what we've done today. So we can say that code is law, but code's not reality. On a blockchain, reality is defined by the code in addition to the network effect, which is the entirety of the community trusting it all. That together creates that collective reality to which everyone is consenting. So I don't understand or support any of these arguments about, how we're taking someone's property or telling someone what they can do with their property. We're creating a reality in which that property, has different properties or the property has different properties than the other tokens on the chain. And that's what we've done. This is not DPoS technology failing. This is it doing exactly what it's meant to do. That's all.
Agraba, I'm not sure how to say his name, stepped off the live on air channel. So Snook, you're up next. You're lighting up, but I can't hear you, Snook.
Okay, sorry about that. I didn't realize I got moved. I just want to clarify something. So the soft fork was put in place because Justin didn't communicate with the witnesses, and you saw it as hostile. This is what I would like clarification on.
Anybody care to answer her?
Yes, I can. So, hi, Snicky.
Hello.
So, the Softfork has mainly been worked on because with the sale or the purchase of, Steemit Inc., the status quo of the Steemit Inc. stakes, the status quo and the social contracts, which are non-voting stake. To us, it just became it became as if the new owner could potentially not honor those those social contracts put in place, those promises what to do with that stake. This was mainly, to me, it was mainly fueled by the mixed PR press relations published by the Tron Foundation after the acquisition announcement, plus the AMA with Justin and Ned did not really help.
Well, that wasn't an AMA. That was bullshit. But yeah, I mean, they didn't answer a question in the AMA.
Yes. So.
Yeah, go ahead, Roland.
Well, yeah. So after we have a set of links where with all the I will share them shortly with all the announcements made by Tron and its PR machine. Let me say, for one, let me say Tron. Well, I think Tron can bring very exciting things to the Steem chain, but this was just, as Starker just said, maybe uneducated or hostile at worst, but uneducated the least. To say that you buy with Steemit Inc. you buy a proprietary blockchain Steem, you do a token swap, you have Poloniex having a blog post or a FAQ ready where they will support a token swap. This was indeed not discussed with witnesses, but it's not just about being discussed with witnesses. It's about out of the blue, a whole community is just being talked about as tossed around. Let's put it that way. And then, well, we've just felt, okay, if this is the messaging from you guys, the only thing we can do without breaking the chain, without forcing hard forks, is act upon it right now and just make sure that it cannot be abused for now. The state cannot be abused for now by just implementing a soft fork, which is no more than a little if-else statement. If Steemit Inc. or a couple of other accounts related to Steemit Inc. or owned by Sold in the Purchase, if Steemit Inc., then block Operation X, Operation Y, and Operation Z. If not, just continue on. And who knows, they will not even try those operations. Or if they try, we tested them in the testnet. Yeah. I don't know if I'm clear.
So, well, I agree that he didn't find the people. I made a post on it, and I was very adamant about, I mean, he can buy Steemit, not Steem the blockchain. Is this your guys' way of showing him that Steemit and Steem are two different things? Because I don't honestly think he actually knew that he wasn't buying the blockchain. I mean, was that part of it? I'm just trying to look for the reason how 20 people or 18, because 2 didn't vote, came, and I know a lot of the people that voted on it got to this conclusion, a simple answer, and that's where it seems very convoluted of why this was done.
So again, this is just done to prevent a status quo, to prevent, imagine that if all of a sudden everything exploded, okay, we're gonna vote our, what they could have done is, they fire up one node, one Steem blockchain node, run it, make 20 new accounts, and in the config file of a witness node, you can just enter those 20 new users, make them a witness, and you literally need one computer which runs the software, and then you will have 20 new witnesses. They would vote for those witnesses, have some other stake maybe voting it, I don't know, or find other witnesses to vote for it, overthrow the current top witness list, and implement any change they wanted. And yes, we did not communicate prior. We tried to, and we expressed our concerns through the old Steemit Inc. Through the Steemit Inc., the former Steemit Inc. Main persons, such as Eli Powell. But that's what was at stake, what could have happened. And just to mitigate that risk, it could have always happened. It could have happened last week. It could have happened in January. I don't know. It could have happened any time in the past 4 years. So this should have been done a long time ago. And now, especially with the mixed communications, we felt it was just better to prevent that from happening. Because once it would have happened, it would have had more devastating effects. Because then we could have only stopped it by hard forking.
Okay, but then why didn't you do it 2 years ago?
So
Did you
that's a
do
good
it now did you do it now because things changed and Ned really didn't look at Steem, the blockchain, very much at all anyway, and he was what's the word? Anyway,
Yeah, no, it's true.
he was passive. So then all of a sudden, now you have an unknown. So now we need to secure the
To be
chain.
honest, a couple of months ago, with the other, it almost came to this point. There was really tension, talks, and threats back and forth between Ned and many of the top witnesses. But then it didn't come to it, and I don't know the exact. This is like moving around. It's not 20 people. There are more people who were in all these discussions. Community folks, investors, and witnesses. Moving around this I call it like an organism of consensus is a funny thing to watch. I don't know how I can compare it to something, but you see all these opinions floating and then going back, extremes going back to the left, going to the right, and then all of a sudden it comes together into this and then this is the end result. So maybe but the question is very valid. It should have happened a long time ago, and how it was. It's actually, if you look back at it, it's actually really how do you say it? It's bizarre on the one hand that it hadn't happened before. That instead in Hard Fork 14 it was not implemented earlier. That the Steem stake was forced. So, but for example, then you had these talks about the Steem Foundation or the guys doing the delegation process with Starkers aboard, and then the SPS has been implemented, the SPS hard fork. So then you have maybe that has been taken away from the core. I mean, you give the people something to chew on, and then they don't talk about the rest. Maybe, but that's just me theorizing in English about why this has not happened before. But now we felt like it has to happen.
There are a couple witnesses that aren't here that have actually posted. So I want to go through a couple of them. This one I find personally distressing. This is Smooth.Witness resigning as a witness. So for some time I have found that external demands have made it challenging for me to devote the time and attention necessary to be a conscientious and committed top 20 witness. With the recent sale of Steem Inc. to Justin's son, it seems apparent that there will be new short and long-term challenges facing witnesses, likely increasing the necessary level of time and commitment, which I would find very difficult to sustain. For these reasons, I will be stepping down as a witness effective immediately. If you are voting for my witness, please reallocate your witness votes to another deserving witness to help secure the chain. So that's from Justin. This one is from Luke Stokes. And this is, it's titled, What is Property? Is it Defined by Consensus? My thoughts as a consensus witness on the current status of the blockchain. First, please read this Softfork 0.22.2 joint announcement by the current consensus witnesses. Many say property is defined by the legal jurisdiction you live in, controlled by a nation state. Others, myself included, derive property rights from the philosophy of liberty as described here. And there's a video that is here that I won't play. I own myself, I own my actions in the present moment, which creates property, a representation of myself in the past. Blockchains to me provide an opportunity to create a new paradigm for understanding property. It's global, not defined by a monopoly on violence in a geographic region, i.e. a nation state. But how is blockchain property defined? Via consensus. In most proof-of-work consensus blockchains, that means 51% of the hashing power. In delegated proof of stake on Steem, that means that 2/3 plus 1 of the top 20 plus 1 elected witnesses. There has been a long-standing social contract for how the Steem stake will be decentralized over time and used to grow the Steem ecosystem. Some examples include It would be decentralized via methods such as funding, and he's quoting, funding the continued research and development of Steemit.com, the Steem blockchain's first and premier application, promoting and publicizing the Steem blockchain and its features, hosting high availability services for platform users, sponsoring conferences and community gatherings, and sponsoring undertakings to build applications and increase user adoption across the entire ecosystem, as per the roadmap of 2017. Ned Scott interview, published December 20th, 2016. Some of the statements made were inaccurate. Steemit mined closer to 80% of the tokens, not 50%, and there was never publicly available testnet. At time 3329, it's all dedicated to the advancement of the ecosystem. At time 4345, Steemit holding used to sort of reserved and earmarked for improving the ecosystem. In Hard Fork 14, decline voting rights operation introduced to formalize a smart contract between certain accounts in the community that currently only exists as a social contract. I have heard from many in the community who feel Ned sold his property without making these points clear. Given the announcement by Tron to move the Steem token over to Tron, many fear the stake would be used to force this action against the will of consensus and against the original intent of the Steemit stake. This is a key moment for delegated proof of stake. It's easy to step away and let others figure out, but I was recently a backup witness and put back into consensus when all this started. I posted about Steem not being Steemit, and Justin replied to it as his first on-chain post. I've been right in the middle of this whether I like it or not. Last year when the Steemit stake was powered down, I made this very clear statement. I will not implement, support, or condone any hard fork that affects the balances, keys, or security of any accounts on the current chain. I still stand by that, but I participated in this temporary soft fork in order to maintain the status quo for now. The witnesses, as of this post, have not had a direct conversation with Justin or the Tron team to better understand how they intend to use their newly acquired property, but we have reached out to start a discussion. I use that word property deliberately. I do not see the purchased Steemit stake as property belonging to the person or entity that purchased it. There's a social contract lien of sorts on that property, but it's still property. I've argued against certain aspects of the Softfork, specifically preventing liquid transfer, but I saw the reason why many in the community and among the witnesses wanted to take decisive action to prevent witness voting and further power downs, which once started would most likely require a hard fork to change. So where does that leave us now? I hope the consensus witnesses, whoever they may be, will have a conversation with Justin and the Tron Foundation about how they intend to use their property. The ideal outcome, in my mind, is to replace this temporary code with something more specific to our shared goals as a Steem community, now connected with the resources of the Tron community. As always, as your elected witness, I openly welcome all questions and will do what I can to answer them. I have here's one from the Real Wolf. Wolf witness statement, Steem Protective Softfork 0.22.2. Today, on the 23rd of February of 2020 at 10 p.m. UTC, the majority of Steem witnesses have accepted a temporary soft fork, which immediately prohibits certain operations from Steemit-owned accounts. This software update is temporary, reversible, and no other accounts have or will be affected. More information about the soft fork can be seen at that post. As a consensus witness and stakeholder, it's my number one priority to ensure the safety and governance of Steem, the blockchain. As such, I've decided to run the proposed soft fork with a goal to ensure the protection of Steem, which has already been threatened by the NinjaMine stake, but even more so due to the recent purchase by Steemit Inc. by an external party. More information about the soft fork and the arguments around it can be found in this post. Personal note, over the past 2.5 years, I've invested sweat and tears into Steem. For the possibilities this blockchain and community has given me, I'm extremely grateful, which is why I believe that running the soft fork is the right thing to do. I've always had some kind of faith in things turning out okay. Once SMTs and communities are here, we'll thrive was my motto. But the more I looked into the history of Steem and what I've witnessed over time, the more disturbed I came regarding what went wrong. Most importantly, how Steem was launched, which includes the NinjaMine, the chain wipe, hyperinflation, and co., and how absurd the distribution was tilted towards Steemit Inc. owning the far majority of Steem. On top of that, how bad the outside image got because of exactly this reason. I trusted that Steemit Inc., or rather Ned Scott, would do the correct thing with this NinjaMine stake, or rather what was promised in the past, example, a YouTube video link, as in using it to support Steem and its ecosystem, as well as distribute it to reduce the risk of centralization. But what I didn't expect was for him to sell his company right when we were on the cusp of thriving. I could talk a lot about personal responsibility and all that, but that's not what this note is about. The immense value Steem provides is in part due to Steem Inc., but is mainly created by many, many community developers, entrepreneurs, creators, and stakeholders, and this is what we have to support and protect, starting with the soft fork. As I wrote at the beginning of the post, the soft fork is only temporary to ensure that the NinjaMine stake can't be used to maliciously attack our blockchain. The goal is to find a mutual, compatible solution with Steem Inc. on how the stake can be used to benefit Steem without explicitly having to trust words. Because as we've seen now, words can easily be broken, code cannot. We are Steem. If you agree with me, then please vote my witness to ensure the governance of this blockchain. And the last one I'm going to read is the block trades one. So this is from Block Trades, the fundamental underpinning of blockchain consensus. All peer-to-peer blockchains operate under some form of consensus. People often talk about the rules of the blockchain as defining the terms of that consensus, which is true in some senses, but very wrong in another. At its deepest level, peer-to-peer network consensus is established by the people who run the software on their computers. As a computer owner, you have the right to run the software you want on that system, and this includes running software that lets you participate in a peer-to-peer network. If you don't like the rules for how that software works, you can always change the rules and run new software. Now, a peer-to-peer network isn't very useful if there's only one person using the network, so you generally must then seek out other people who want to run compatible software. Cryptocurrency forks. In terms of cryptocurrency peer-to-peer network, a change in the rules of the network is generally referred to as a fork. It's called a fork because some people may choose to continue to run the old software and others will use the new software. So what was one community running the same software becomes two communities operating under different sets of rules. Note that in this case, a person can even operate both forms of the software if they choose. In the case of cryptocurrency, this means that such a person is assigning value to both types of coins, the old ones and new ones. Exchanges often do this, for example. Rule changes. Are there any limits? Note that there are no limits on how the rules can be changed when forking. You can create a fork where all the money is given to your associates, for example, and you and your associates can run that software. This can and does happen, but such cryptocurrencies don't generally gain much popularity because they are exclusive in nature. Unless they make some promises about future distribution to most people, this is basically how many ICOs have occurred, for example. So in the end, while there are no technical or legal limits on what changes can be made in a fork, the real limiting factor is people's acceptance of these changes. A coin on a cryptocurrency network with only one participant isn't worth much. This, in fact, is the real consensus of a cryptocurrency network. It's the people who are willing to operate under the rules of a cryptocurrency network and assign value to those coins. At the moment you, as an individual, decide those coins no longer have value, you have the right to leave that network, join another, or even start your own fork. But wait, what about code is law? The rules of a cryptocurrency network can always change, and they generally do over time. In my opinion, code is law is a nonsense term unless there's an actual legal agreement backing it. This would be the case, for example, if a formal contract was established between all the participants in the cryptocurrency to abide by the rules of the code. I think this would be a terrible idea, however, unless there was also some defined clear rules for establishing a method for updating the agreement over time and also a way to handle code bugs, because inevitably complex software never does exactly what was intended all the time. Beyond blockchain consensus. Note, as a practical matter, most blockchains do not have any associated legal agreement of the type mentioned above, nor am I advocating for one. I believe, in fact, that the greatest philosophical idea that has emerged from cryptocurrency is the idea of voluntary cooperation via support for a common set of rules which one can join or leave as it suits the individual. Indeed, I think that this idea has application beyond today's cryptocurrencies and will lead to many new ways that humans can organize to voluntarily work together in the future. So I wanted to get all of those on record. So pardon me for reading them. I don't know if you guys appreciated that or not, but I feel like in this recording, certainly right after the soft fork took place, it's important to have those. Certainly, let's go open up the floor to whoever would like to speak, and I'll try to catch up in chat.
You just wanted me to stop asking questions.
You are welcome to ask questions again.
I was just joking.
So can I ask a question real quick here?
Yeah, anybody's welcome to speak.
Well, I'm kind of wondering, do we hold these witnesses who trusted Ned accountable? because here's the thing: is like this. One of the major things. Maybe there's something to this. Maybe there is a contract with that Steem Inc. stake that says you're not supposed to be voting witnesses. But here's the thing: none of these top 20 witnesses, prior, past, or a lot of them are still in there, held him to that contract. Now that the cows are out, you can't shut the gate behind them, right? Like there's this contract that was never enforced, and whose fault is that, right? Is it Ned? Well, partially, but I would also blame the top 20 witnesses who didn't do anything about it then, who waited until Justin Sun came, because I think that's really the crux of it. They trusted Ned, but they don't trust Justin Sun, and now we know they shouldn't have trusted Ned. Are they going to suffer any consequences from this?
I mean, that seems up to every single voter. You know, if you thought Ned acted fraudulently and that you think that the witnesses that are in the top 20 spots did a bad job protecting that, or that should have done it earlier, or any of those, I mean, you get to vote that opinion. I mean, I don't.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and yeah, like I do think Ned acted fraudulently, but now we're holding Ned's old stake that he doesn't own anymore against it, which isn't hurting Ned anything, even though Ned's the one that acted fraudulently. It's not hurting Ned. It's hurting the sucker who bought his bags.
Well, it's debatable whether it's Ned's stake, though.
Well, Ned's company. Let's put it that way, because it was corporate stake. It's Steem Inc.
Yeah, I think that's a very useful distinction here. I mean, it certainly is binding when a company makes a very specific set of promises that others later make investments based on. So, in my opinion, he acquired Steem Inc. and Steem Inc. were responsible for allocating a community resource, and that doesn't change.
I want to go invite anybody from the audience, if you guys have opinions to share. In case you're just coming in, this is not the Steem Witness Forum. This is the Minnow Mayor Town Hall. Everyone is welcome to share whatever they'd like. All opinions are welcome here. I'd also like to really thank everybody. There are clearly some strong opinions in here, and I just want to say I think you guys have done a phenomenal job of sharing with one another where you're coming from, but also doing so in a peaceful manner that helps you get heard. So thank you for doing that. I feel like this has been a really productive discussion. But like I said, anybody that wants to come on air, the general rule is you just put a 1 in the general chat, and we can drag you in. Or if you hop into the MSP Waves waiting room, that's another signal, and we can just pull you on air. But everybody's welcome to go share whatever they'd like. All opinions are welcome.
Would it be possible to get a short, concise reason of why it was done? Really, that's all I want.
From my perspective, it's quite simple. There are two reasons. One is to absolutely ensure that the blockchain remains secure, and second, to ensure that the community stake stays true to its original promise.
Yeah, this will also help Tron to understand the difference between Steemit.com or Steemit Inc. and the Steem blockchain. I firmly believe, this is Starkers by the way, I firmly believe that Tron, let's look at the Tron blockchain. It's run by the Tron Foundation, and Justin owns, I understand, about 55% of all of the tokens in Tron. So his whole mentality comes from a very centralized point of view already, just from the Tron blockchain. And when he bought Steemit.com and Steemit Inc., I've got a feeling he just assumed that represented the same amount of stake as the Tron Foundation represents in the Tron blockchain, and it does not. And this is why alarm bells were rung when this happened. And the Steem witnesses have moved to a position now where he will have to recognize that the Steem blockchain is not steemit.com. And that's another reason why this was done, in my opinion.
So I don't want to speak for anybody else. The post has one section in bold that explains under the subsection of why was this done. And it states, for now, because there has not been a clear declaration from Steemit Inc. on the use of this Ninja Mine stake, Softfork 0.22.2 has been deployed to allow for the entire community to discuss how best to achieve the original goals that this Ninja Mine stake exists to support. So that's in the post that went out that's more or less signed by all the witnesses that are running the 22.2 hard fork.
Yeah, I read that. It's good to hear people actually say why they did it.
Anybody want to share a personal reason why they're supporting it?
I want you to buy my Bitcoin.
Please reach out to the Tron community and try to explain this to them from their point of view. If you support the move, it will help calm the effect of a shock down if this is a shock to the Tron community.
I would be surprised if it is a shock to them. I mean, Justin is an individual who owns Steemit Inc. I mean, it's not like this whole thing damages Tron as a community in any way.
Shu, all I want to know is the soft fork implemented as we speak? And the answer is yes. The soft fork was implemented at 5 p.m. Eastern, so about 3 hours and 12 minutes ago. I mean, for me, I think, I guess I think two things. It's if he wants to take unilateral action, I wouldn't stop him, and I wouldn't say no, you can't do that. I would just say, okay, you own the stake, you have the ability to do that. We just need time to plan for what we're going to do. So if he wants to go, basically force a token swap or sell off all the stake, or he wants to go abandon the 4-year practices of Steemit, he owns it now, and there's it's arguable that he could do that. And but I think this community deserves the right to have time to react and not just have things like that immediately happen. But let's have a discussion, and he can say, well, I'd like to work together. And we either take him at his word, or we build some code around figuring out how to ensure that what we mutually agree to happens. Or he says, you know what, screw you guys, I'm getting the hell out of here. I just want to sell my stake and move on. And that's a possibility too. He could shut down Steem and fire everybody, or shut down Steemit and fire everybody. There's lots of different choices that can be made. I just, to me, the importance of this was, let's just build in time for reflection and planning, so that this community is way more than just one person with a lot of stake. There are people that use this to feed their families, and there's people that use this to sell their products and do their business. Like, you need time and notice. So this is just, to me, building that in. I also think you guys some of you will just laugh at this, but I really do think that there's a case that Ned acted fraudulently with Justin. And if Justin hasn't paid for the entire stake, then it's worth him considering like legal ramifications, and I think this community should consider something like a class action lawsuit. Those aren't things that I specialize in, but I think that it's something that we should look into. I feel like Ned stole from this community, so before other things happen, let's go give this a pause and figure out what we do from there.
Agrod.
Yes, Vlad.
This is Vlad of Ostalk. I really respect what you guys did. You guys are voted in a position of this power to care for this community and to care for the Steem blockchain, and I really respect what you guys did. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody had to dig deep on this. Nobody in there is like, let's go shut down authority for people to go make conscious decisions of what they want. I don't think that's the goal of anybody. I think we made a safe assumption that we are not causing harm, and a minor delay to control of his stake doesn't represent irreparable harm to him, and this is a temporary maneuver, and whoa.
It is a soft fork, so it is plausibly temporary. But here's the thing: it seems like everybody's got their mind made up, and there's not going to be a release of this soft fork. By the way, this is Ron Dunn speaking.
Hi,
there's
Ron.
not going to be a release of this soft fork unless Justin meets the demands of the community, right?
And that is that is not the position that I'm taking. The position I'm taking is you have to tell us your intention. And once we know your intention, we need time to go. If the result is, I can't speak for the other witnesses. I imagine if the plan is a forced swap, and that the goal of Justin is to cannibalize the Steem blockchain and try as he might to shut it down, then what I would personally want to see is a fork that is exactly the same blockchain, and just everything about the Steem accounts would be down to zero, and then we move on. And Justin could still control the chain that has his stake on it. People could still choose to run that and maybe run that into the ground, but the rest of the community would have time to develop a hard fork that allows those who would like to stay. And I think that would be the fork that I would support. I would imagine that there's many other forks and potentially new chains, and 10 million different versions of whale shares, and lots of different people trying to figure out what approach they want to take. And I think people are going to get to do what they want to do. And to me, this just represents he doesn't have to meet any demand to me other than just state what his intention is. And then we can take some time to plan, and then it'll get resolved.
I think it's important to add to that. I'll go ahead, Frederick here. That all of the witnesses that now run this soft fork does this voluntarily. This is not a change that has been made to the blockchain or an alteration of those accounts. It is rather witnesses voluntarily running a software that omits approving transactions done by said accounts. Now, different witnesses that runs this may have different opinions about what it is that we expect from Steem Inc. or from Sun. And those differences can be respectable. So, for instance, in my case, what I want to see and why I think it was worth to take a pause, quote unquote, on their stake, is that first we get clarifications from the new owners what their intentions on the use of this stake is, and second, that there is some form of guarantee that they will do it the way that they say that they will do it, so we don't have to just trust them based on the word. And
Yeah.
then if that's satisfying, then we will lift it, of course.
Absolutely, I'm with that as well. For me, it's basically we let them state their intentions publicly so that the world can see, and then if we can hard code those intentions into the chain, great. If we can't, we have to come up with some other way to ensure that they follow those intentions. However, the fact they've stated them publicly would be probably enough in most cases to revert the soft fork. That's
You guys drew a line in the sand, and it's perfect. That's all that needed to be done right now because they do think that they own the blockchain. It's a hard thing to understand owning Steemit, thinking that on the blockchain chain, and you guys put the line in the sand, and it's perfect.
I mean, some people certainly have more strong opinions about Tron and about Sun and about whether or not this stake should exist. But I think, and this is one of the things that we did experience over the last few days, is that there are some differences of opinions about what we hope to get out of this, but there was a tremendous agreement, the largest I've seen on Steem through 3 years, that we at least had to do something to ensure that this stake was not used directly for voting in the short run. So again, for me, I mean, as soon as we know what they intend to do with it, and there's some form of guarantee, then at least that's good enough for me. But it may not be good enough for some other witness, and then our witness would undo it, and they would still run it, and then it would be up to vote to decide which one we run.
There are some people that have joined us that weren't here before. I just want to remind the community, sorry if this is repetitive, this is the Minnow Mayor Town Hall. Anybody is welcome to speak here. There are a bunch of witnesses represented, but you don't have to be a witness to speak. If you'd like to say anything, feel free to put a 1 into the general chat, like the numeral 1, or just hop into the MSP Waves waiting room, and I can bring you on air. Everybody is welcome to say what they want. And just, again, thank you for being respectful of people that share different opinions than yours. Again, I can't stress enough. I really think everybody here has the best intentions for Steem in mind. And people have different ideas of what's best. But I really do think that everybody in here is trying to do their best to support Steem. And there's not one answer to do that. But, I really appreciate, in this case, Tim has been my mentor for years, or at least I look at him as my mentor, and he and I don't agree on this one, but I zero part of me thinks, oh, he just doesn't give a shit or something. Like, he is absolutely doing what he thinks is best for Steem. And so, it's really hard to be in the minority of that opinion. I've been in the minority, and it's terrifying. But, I really appreciate the guys that are taking a stand and not supporting this. Again, I don't agree with them, but I appreciate that they're not doing it to hurt Steem. They're doing what they think is best to protect Steem.
I invite users to read that article at the Cointelegraph about the uproar with the super reps vote. I mean, what happened there could very potentially happen to us. So there you have it, an example, very recent, it's dated 19th of February. A very recent example of how Justin Tron thinks. So just read it and draw your own conclusions.
We are going on 2.5 hours here. So what I think I'd like to do is bring this one to a close. If people want to go kind of continue on in a recorded or non-recorded session that would be in Pirate, I would certainly welcome that. But I guess I would invite everybody to sort of start sharing a like some closing thoughts or closing arguments, or what do you want people to leave here with? Why are you supporting your position? What do you think is critical that we consider? Or I don't want to define this. It's closing thoughts. What are your closing thoughts as we wrap up this? What I think is the first conversation about this. My guess is that as this continues, we'll keep coming back and having more of these conversations.
I just want to thank all the witnesses or whoever was in the room together that made a decision, that you all come from very different backgrounds, have different amounts of stake in Steem, but yet you all got together for the good of Steem and did what you thought was right. So I think the witness system is working. Now, whether I agree with the decision or not, that's that's my personal opinion. But the actual witness, how it's set up, the witness team for the blockchain to protect it, did what it was supposed to do or what they felt was right. So thank you guys for that.
I would like to acknowledge Neturoso, because he was like the man behind the soft fork. He coded it. And I would like also to acknowledge all the witnesses that participated in testing it. Actually, this soft fork had the biggest witness testing participation that I've ever seen. And without boasting, I was the first one to test it, by the way. But everybody put in their effort, their time in testing and making sure that it was safe for the blockchain, and that it would not break the blockchain like we had a few hiccups in the past with forks. So it was a concerted effort from witnesses, long discussions, a lot of soul searching, it wasn't an easy decision, but that's where we are today, and hopefully it's gonna turn out for the best for us in particular, and for Tron too. I mean, if they're willing to work with us in a constructive manner without jeopardizing our community and our blockchain, then I personally welcome their collaboration. And that's it for me. Draco signing out.
Okay, thanks for having us. At least thanks for having me and listening to my ramblings. It's been interesting 10 days. I'm looking forward to conversations with the Tron Foundation and to see where things go and how everyone feels about what to do next. I will publish my own views ASAP on my own blog, but first I grab a breakfast, and I'm signing out of Bali, Indonesia. Sun is shining, and there's a pool in my living room. Really crazy. Have a nice day.
Hey, this is the Marky Marky. I want to say that this decision, while I made it fairly quickly, it was a very difficult decision. I don't like this. I really hate being in this position, but I think it's the better of the two decisions. And I really hope that Justin does bring something to the blockchain. But my gut feeling is, like I said before, is this information was leaked. They're in damage control, and their full intention is to swap and to move everything to Tron and to cannibalize Steem. And I think that's the direction until he's convinced otherwise. And this change is a temporary one and hopefully sparks a discussion. And I really do hope that things go in a direction where he is actually helping Steem and promoting it and trying to let it grow, and we can become something better than we were under Ned. And that's my real hope, and I hope that's the direction we go in. But I think we have to take precautions. And like I said before, this decision was basically enacting something that should have been done 4 years ago, well before I got here. They made the feature to decline voting rights. They've promised it many times. I've reviewed 3, 4, 5 videos where he clearly said it's non-voting and it's for the stake is used for development and marketing and all that stuff. And in documentations, it's been seen, and it was sold to Justin most likely deceptively, without clarifying that. And I honestly think there's a potential that Ned is being paid to help close down Steem, or somehow help get it into the Tron ecosystem and dissolve it. I don't think he has our intentions at heart at all. So I don't like doing this. I think it sucks, and I understand that people are frustrated, and it's not a decision I took lightly. And I know a lot of people spent a lot of time thinking about it and considering it, and there was a lot of discussion to what level we were going to do this. There was a lot of people that came in and worked on it. I know a lot of jokes are made that witnesses aren't around and stuff like that, but when we need them, we had a lot of them here. We had a lot of them at Hardfork 22, Hardfork 21, Hardfork 20. Each time we had problems, they all, most of them showed up. Not all of them, but a lot of the ones that you don't always see were there and working overnight doing it. So I just want to say that. But I didn't take this decision lightly. It was a tough decision on my part.
I think in my closing statements, this is Frederica with Steem Press, is that even though there were hostile messages or very unfortunate contradicting messages sent by Tron, I really do welcome the potential future that we can have with projects, community members, and Justin's son, and others on Tron. As I said in the witness forum after the AMA, I think that if you can take no positives out of these acquisitions, then you really didn't understand the poor position that Steem was in before it happened, where we lacked the marketing talent and resources to scale projects, and we didn't really have a growing social platform. I think that it is an exciting time ahead for our blockchain, but we can't just naively jump on those things without making 100% sure that there is not a flaw in the system that can be used to really make big damage, which this stake unfortunately is. It just happens to be it, like it or not. And I would like to say that it shouldn't be said that the majority witnesses did this exclusively because of distrust or suspicion about Tron, or in any way based on emotions about what they could do, but rather as something that should have been done many years ago, and something that probably should have been done regardless of who the buyer of Steem is.
You know, I think this is the lowest impact way.
Down without any. Sorry?
You cut out, Frederick. So keep going if you're still on there. You've still cut out. Are you? Do you want to keep talking? Yeah, I don't hear anything from him.
Sorry, I think I had a disconnect very quickly. I just want to finish off by saying that I don't want this to be seen as distrust in Tron or suspicion of hostile intentions. I do want us to go forward better. It just needs to be done in a way that we know is secure.
Yeah. All right, go for it, Matt.
Thanks, Agrod. I'd just like to close out by saying, it's a very interesting, reasoned debate that we're having here, which is again a testament to the Steem community. And again, I want to reiterate: let's take this opportunity to help explain to Tron that this can be a win-win Tron can demonstrate to the wider crypto community that they support decentralization. And okay, this may be a little bit of a stumbling block for them, but in the wider picture, coming to the table to talk, discuss the way forwards, and support decentralization makes them look good. It makes us look good. Everyone wins. I think that's got to be the next step.
Yeah, I believe that this is a home to many people, myself included, and it's a home worthy of protecting. And this is, to me, the least impactful way that we can at least buy ourselves some time to go figure out what the plan is, figure out what the intentions are, and then move forward from there. He bought stake. That stake, I think, is really meant for this community. And if he chooses to not do that, I think the community gets to have a say in, do they still want to participate in this ecosystem, or is there a different chain or a different approach that they would like to do? And to me, this just buys some time so that we have the we can plan, and he can still do what he wants to do, and he could still, if he still wants to shut down whatever version of the chain this is and do a token swap with Tron. Like, I don't mean to stand in the way of that. What I do mean to do is provide time for us to go plan a fork, so that for the people that don't want to be forced into that, have an alternative, and not a rushed alternative, and not just a well executed. I don't. My only demand of Justin really is, tell us your intention, and then let us go figure out how we go from there. So that's where I stand on this. And also, I just want to keep stressing, I think Ned lied to him. I haven't seen the documents going back and forth, but my guess is that he didn't go outline. For 4 years we've been saying this is public money to be used for the public good. So my guess is that Justin has been a victim of fraud by Ned. And Ned, I believe, has stolen from the entire community. I think he is a thief and a con man.
As somebody who has just been blindsided, like most of you guys in the audience, with this news, I wasn't in those meetings. I wasn't in this decision making. So this is just something that's been thrust upon me today, just like it has most of you. I would say, to those witnesses in the top 20, to those who are running this fork, you should probably make sure that what your intentions are with this fork, what you expect to accomplish with this. If you would actually trust Justin, if Justin announces his intentions, are you going to just take him at his word? And what you're going to do if Justin doesn't say what, or if he says something that you don't like for him to do with that stake. I think all of this is extraordinarily clear, or it's critical at this point for you guys to let the community know exactly what you're hoping to get out of this and what you're going to do if that doesn't happen. And that's Rondon's 2 cents.
All right. I want to do one last call. Anybody from the community want to go pop in? Anybody want to share a closing thought? This is the last chance for at least this conversation right this moment. All right. Seeing none, and I guess I just want to go and say one more time, I really honor and respect the ability of this community and the people here to respectfully disagree with one another. The amount of name calling was amazingly little that you guys are I just appreciate how you can have different opinions and feel very strongly and not attack one another. And that, to me, is really what this Discord group is about, this peace, abundance, and liberty. I think that this conversation, especially because it was so heated for some, really demonstrated that aspect of peace towards one another. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for how you all handled yourselves and how you all interact with one another. I'm so proud to call this place home. And I'm very grateful. So, to all those listening, whether you're from Steemit or Tron, if you, I guess I need to say one last thing. The Steemit devs, the core team and the Steemit employees, I think have been through a very rough transition. And I think we just need to, say some prayers, some love and light, a moment of silence, whatever it is that is in your heart to do to share with them. I would just, I don't know. I just want them to know that, they have acted in the best interest of this chain, as far as I can tell, and have been working so hard to make this what I think of as the most scalable and sustainable blockchain project that I know of. And so to the Steemit team that's gone through this, my heart goes out to you. You guys are doing your best too. So thanks everybody. Thank you for participating. Thank you, Ron, for helping to keep the lights on for MSP Waves. Thank you to the audience for joining us. And, thanks for making this place home for so many people. All right, guys. This has been MSP Waves. This is your host, Agrode, currently Witness 19 on the Steem blockchain, signing off. And thank you all for being here. Have a great night.